The asylum process is kind of a black box. It's a real mystery for anyone who hasn't actually been through it. And during my years as an asylum officer and now helping clients prepare as an asylum lawyer, well, I've heard the same questions countless times from people who have already applied for asylum and are wondering now, well, what's next? Where do things go from here? So you've done the hard work of applying for asylum, but you've got questions about the rest of the process. Look, you need to know what you're getting into because what follows is absolutely critical to your future. You need to be familiar with the next step in your case after applying, the asylum interview. You see, USCIS is scheduling interviews at a fast and furious pace right now, such that if you've applied for asylum and you haven't yet received your interview notice, well, you just might receive it very soon. You need to be prepared. So in this video, I'm going to address 6 frequently asked questions from folks who are facing an asylum interview. I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. By the way, let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for an asylum interview for multiple years. Let me know how long you've been waiting. Okay, let's get into 6 questions about the asylum interview that every asylum seeker needs to know the answer to. So number 1, what if I need to correct something from my original application? Well, look, there's pretty much no such thing as a perfect asylum application. Just about every single one of them needs updates or corrections by the time of the asylum interview. So don't panic. Oral amendments are completely normal and expected. So you might need to correct a date, add a location that you forgot to mention, or update your address or work history, right? It's all okay. Officers are used to this and they're prepared to make these adjustments. Now, the key is just being prepared to update the application and explain any changes clearly and, of course, honestly. You'll have the chance to do this during your interview. The second phase of the interview involves a meticulous review of your Form I-589, the application form, where the officer walks you through pretty much every question on the form to ensure that everything is correct and up to date. Now, this is your opportunity to set the record straight and provide the most accurate current information. If you have a lawyer, I recommend that they submit these corrections and updates ahead of time in writing. This just makes the process go faster, makes it easier during the interview. Officers really appreciate this. But if you're not represented by counsel, then I think it's probably best to just do this orally during the interview and not try to submit anything ahead of time. Okay, number 2, how long will it take to get a decision after the interview? So the wait for a decision is never easy, and it's gonna take at least 2 weeks after the interview to get your decision, but the reality is that they can take substantially longer, weeks, months, or even in some cases, yes, years. Now, sometimes the delay is due to pending security checks that require the okay from other government agencies, or, there may be particularly complex or sensitive cases that do require review higher up in the chain of command at USCIS. But listen, in my experience, more often than not, it's simply because the officer is overwhelmed and has set your case off to the side and just doesn't have the time to pick it up and finalize it. Now, it's important to know that a long wait for a decision does not necessarily mean that your case is going to be denied. In fact, usually a long wait is not due to any problems with your case. If it takes longer than expected, there are legal strategies to expedite the process, including legal action against the government if necessary through a mandamus lawsuit. But look, you can start with a simple email to the asylum office saying something like, "Hey, I had my interview on X date and haven't received my decision yet. Could you please let the officer know that I'll be happy to provide anything that might be required from me so that processing of my case can be finalized? Oh, and might you be so kind as to provide an estimate as to when I'll receive my decision? Thanks so much." So this type of polite, proactive communication can sometimes, not rarely, but sometimes help move things along, and it shows your eagerness to cooperate. Asylum interview question number 3. What happens if I get denied? If the asylum officer decides that you're not eligible for asylum, well, what happens next depends on your current immigration status, your status at the time that USCIS makes that negative decision. So if you do have legal status, including things like TPS or valid student or visitor status, you'll receive what's called a notice of intent to deny and have 16 days to submit a written rebuttal to try to change the officer's mind. This is a critical window of time. Now, if you're unsuccessful with that rebuttal, you get what's called a final denial letter, and your asylum claim is over. It's denied, but you're not placed in deportation proceedings. You just continue with whatever status you already had. However, if you do not have legal status at the time the officer makes the negative decision, well, then your case goes to immigration court, where you do get another opportunity to present your case, this time to a judge. But to be clear, at this stage, the government is actively trying to deport you. You're going to be in deportation proceedings. You'll receive what's called a notice to appear from the asylum office, which formally kicks off these deportation proceedings against you. Now, this is serious stuff. You should definitely talk to a lawyer immediately upon receiving this notice, because now you're not just seeking a benefit, you're defending yourself against a legal action. Okay, number 4, can I submit additional documents before my interview? Yes, you can submit additional or updated supporting documents before your interview. Just upload them through your My USCIS account if you applied for asylum online, or if you applied on paper, you're going to need to mail them by physical mail, but I recommend that you also send them in PDF form by email. Look, this is a key step to make your case as strong as possible and give the officer everything they need in advance. Think of it as your final submission of written materials, like a declaration if you haven't already submitted one, updated country conditions information, or a legal brief from your lawyer. Now, I recommend submitting everything that you want the officer to consider at least 2 weeks before your interview. Sometimes people take a large quantity of new supporting documents with them on the day of the interview without having provided them in advance. Now, this risks leading to the rescheduling of your interview, so the officer will have time to review the materials before the interview. And that's not ideal because, listen, you really want to have your interview as soon as possible. The sooner you have your interview, the better your chances for success. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, number 5, what are the benefits of winning asylum? Now, this is the exciting part. You can stay safe and stay here with confidence about your future in the United States. This means you have legal protection and are no longer at risk of being returned to your home country. You can build a new life without the fear that drove you to seek asylum. You can petition for certain family members to join you so they too can be safe and secure. So for example, if you're granted asylum, you can apply to bring your spouse and unmarried children who are under 21 to the United States. And you can also apply right away for permanent residency, also known as a green card, which is even more secure and comes with more benefits than asylum. A green card gives you the right to work and live permanently in the United States, and you can travel more freely than with just asylum status. And listen, 4 years after getting your green card, you can apply for U.S. citizenship, the pinnacle of stability and privileges. This means you'll have all the rights and responsibilities of a U.S. citizen, including the right to vote. All right, number 6. So look, it feels overwhelming. What's the single most important thing that I can do to help me win, and how do I do it? So look, this one's easy. Pre-interview preparation. So many people are hearing advice like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And then they're asking, does the interview really even matter? As long as I have a good application, people will think things like, well, I did a good job explaining my case in my application, and I have good evidence and documents to support my case. So, maybe the interview isn't really that important. Well, actually, yes, the interview is absolutely the most important part of your case. You see, the application and supporting materials, actually, they pale in comparison to the interview. The interview is where the officer decides if you're credible, and that decision is based almost entirely on your testimony, what you say on the day of your interview. And I can't stress this enough. A perfectly written application, outstanding evidence, and a legal brief from your lawyer cannot compensate for weak or inconsistent testimony. Your interview is by far the most important part of your case. And this means that how you prepare for your interview is the single most important thing of all. Now, the good news is that you actually can practice to do better. In fact, you can drastically increase your chances for success with the right preparation. Now, as an asylum officer, I could immediately tell which applicants had professional guidance in preparing for their interview. See, they were calm, organized, and effective in explaining their case. Exactly the qualities that led to approvals. And they knew what information that I needed to receive in order to approve them. And they had actually practiced providing it in a clear, impactful way. Preparation, particularly intensive practice through a full-scale mock interview, is the single most powerful lever that you can pull to maximize your chances for asylum success. Preparation is the true difference maker, and there's no better way to prepare than through a simulated interview, followed by personalized feedback and guidance on how to tell your story and answer difficult and sometimes, yes, hostile questions in a clear and convincing way. Investment and preparation can make the difference between winning protection and facing years of uncertainty and stress in immigration court and on appeal, and ultimately, even potentially facing deportation. Look, a mock interview is an opportunity to walk through the entire interview process in a low-stakes environment, allowing you to identify your weaknesses and build the confidence that you need for the real thing. It's a chance to receive specific feedback on your delivery, your answers, and your overall readiness. And it's the difference between hoping for success and actively preparing for it. Now, the mock asylum interview experience is a special package that I prepared focused on asylum interview preparation. If you're serious about doing everything possible to win your case, then please check out the information I compiled at asylumprep.com. Again, that's asylumprep.com. Your success matters, and I want to help you get there. Together, we can do it. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then please call my office today. That number is 713-909-0401. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us now to schedule an asylum strategy session so we can help you secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.